From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. Hi, I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray, and this week it's time to roll the dice, Dan, and make our way through the history of board games.
It sure is, Brand. Coming up this hour, stay tuned for quizzes about games that didn't stand the test of time and others that may sound a little too strange to even exist. We'll also speak with a board game expert about important moments from tabletop gaming history.
If you'd like to join us on this game about games, we'd love for you to do so. Just call or text us, 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. You could also send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org. Here's what you're playing for. You could get a shot at the title of Who What When Champion of the Week and our very special trophy, Dan. You know it. You love it. It's the Who What When Fanny Pack.
The stakes are high, Brandon. Like you said, we've got an episode this week full of games about games.
It's games of games. I love topics like this.
You sure do, and I do as well. And I thought a good place to start today would be talking about a notable name from board game history, Milton Bradley.
Ah, yes, my favorite, Milton. They made games like Candyland, Twister, Operation Buzz.
Yep, all of those, Buzz included. The Milton Bradley Company produced quite a few famous games, and it was started by their namesake, Mr. Milton Bradley.
I was doing a bit. I didn't know he was a real person. I was just doing a bit about him being my favorite Milton. Will you tell me about him?
I would love to tell you about him, Brand. The actual Milton Bradley was born in 1836 to a working-class family who, after several moves, eventually settled in Massachusetts. This is where young Milton graduated from high school and began developing an interest in engineering and drafting. He even attended what is now known as Harvard School of Engineering and Applied Science for a while.
Hey, Dan, did he make it through the program?
He did not, Brand, but he did end up getting a job as a draftsman with a manufacturer in Connecticut. There, Milton designed a luxury train car for the Viceroy of Egypt.
Wow.
As a token of their appreciation, he was gifted a lithograph of that train car.
Awesome.
This sparked his interest in lithography and led to him opening the Milton Bradley Company in 1860.
Dude, who hasn't had an interest in lithography?
You said
know what I'm
it,
talking
friend.
about? Was he successful?
Nope, that's the end of his story.
You kidding?
I'm kidding.
Okay.
At first, yes, Brandy was successful. The company did pretty well initially, thanks in large part to them offering lithographs of a relatively unknown presidential candidate at the time, a young, beardless Abraham Lincoln. These enjoyed a lot of popularity as Lincoln made more of a name for himself. But that all changed when Lincoln grew his trademark beard. After that, they could barely give these lithographs away. In fact, Milton Bradley ended up just burning the leftover stock.
My goodness, what a loss, Dan.
Yeah.
It would be amazing if we still had these prints, Dan.
It would.
Gosh. So there was a little lithography business. How did board games enter the picture?
Glad you asked, Brand. Despite the failure they faced with the Lincoln debacle, the Milton Bradley Company was able to pivot pretty quickly. Later that same year, they released their first board game, one that Bradley designed himself based on the ups and downs of regular people. He called it the Checkered Game of Life.
Well, that sounds kind of similar to The Game of Life, the board game that I think we grew up playing.
That's correct, Brand. The Checkered Game of Life was an early version of that very game, created in part to help teach secular values and morals that Bradley thought were important for all Americans to share. In fact, that's why the game used a spinner instead of a dice, as they were negatively associated with gambling at the time.
I love a spinner.
But the Checkered Game of Life ended up selling very well and is usually considered the first successful American board game.
That's amazing, Dano. Thank you so much for that little history lesson. You got your former history teacher. You still got it, pal.
You know, I just appreciate you asking me these history questions every week.
You know, I
Brand.
love to
You're
learn.
so
I
welcome.
love to learn.
How about we continue our gaming conversation with some contestants?
Fantastic idea, Dan. We've got two players on the line. Contestant number one. What's your name and where are you from?
Hey, I'm Becca from Columbia, South Carolina.
Becca from my hometown of Columbia, South Carolina. Becca, you heard board games. You didn't know this beforehand. You heard for the first time this morning that you were going to be doing some board game trivia. How do you feel about that topic?
I'm excited.
Okay.
I hope I don't fail myself.
If you invited Dan and I over for game night, what game would you pull out of the game closet?
Ooh, are you guys Settlers of Catan fans? Or I could see you both playing D&D, maybe a little role playing.
I've never, surprisingly enough, never played D&D, but I've always wanted to. So I'd be happy to join my first campaign with you, Beck.
Dan, you can be our dungeon master.
That's right. I'll be the dungeon master. I love to do voices. I can do voices.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. I love it. Let's stick with that. You're going to be playing against caller number 2, Becca. Good luck. Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Kayla, and I am also from Columbia, South Carolina.
All right. 2 Columbia callers today. You
Very
love
nice.
to hear it. Kayla, you heard board games. How you feeling?
I'm excited, a little nervous. I'm excited to see the nostalgia, and hopefully I can do my childhood self justice,
I love that.
Now, this makes it sound like, though, Kayla, that you're not a big adult board game player.
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
What's the last board game you played?
Monopoly? I think it was one of the
Monopoly, yeah.
newer Monopolies. Yeah.
One of the newer Monopolies. All right. We've got Becca and Kayla playing with us today, and we're going to start out with a game called Clue What Win.
Oh, I love that, Dan. This round is all general board game trivia. You'll take turns answering these questions. Let us know which board game that we're talking about. Gotta get yourself some points, okay?
All right, Becca, you'll start us out. Here's your first question in Clue What Win. The original version of this combat strategy game of naval superiority and, let's face it, lucky guesses, was originally played on paper that included areas of land on a map. Is that A, Risk, B, Battleship, or C, Aqua?
I'm going to go B, Battleship.
She's going to go B, Battleship. Didn't fall for that Aqua.
No. Worst part about Battleship is the little
Destroyer.
The little things.
Is the little one the destroyer?
No, I'm talking about the little things you put into the ship.
pegs.
Because those suckers, they run wild.
They run wild. Kayla, your chance to tie it at 1-1 here on Clue What Win. Here's your question from the history of board games. The makers of this timed word jumble game were so worried about players seeing a certain cuss word on the board that they redesigned it to put all the F's and K's on the same cube as to never be seen at the same time. Is that A, Scattergories, B, Scrabble, or C, Boggle?
I'm going to go with B, Scrabble.
She's going to go with B, Scrabble. Incorrect.
No!
Kayla, unfortunately, we're looking for Boggle. Boggle.
Really boggles the mind.
I rule at Boggle.
Yeah.
I haven't been beaten in a game at Boggle in years. All right, Becca, back to you. A chance to take a 2-0 lead. Here's your next question. The inventor of this game was struck with the idea after he and his wife beat another couple in Pictionary, then subsequently lost miserably to them at Scrabble. As far as the sculpting component, I've got nothing. A, Time's Up. B, Telestrations. C, Cranium.
Oh, gosh. I think I've only played Cranium, but I don't remember. Oh, I'm going to take a swing at it and say Cranium, actually.
She's going to take a swing and say Cranium, and what she doesn't remember is Cranium came with basically some Play-Doh that you had to sculpt with. Cranium is the correct answer. Nicely done, Becca. You're 2 for 2.
So I similar to Becca, I don't remember the basics of Cranium. So there's a Pictionary element.
There's a
where you
Pictionary
draw.
element. There's
There
a
is
sculpting
words?
element. There's the word game element. It's really an all play for trivia. It's trivia too.
Okay, so but if your head their whole thing is
my
we
wife
don't
and I,
wanna
it's
lose in
teams. Though.
Scrabble.
Yeah, my
Okay.
wife and I used to roll people at Cranium. Yeah,
dude, that's awesome.
It was so cool for us, right? Kayla, back to you. Chance to get on the board. Your next question about board game trivia. While it takes one more than tic-tac-toe, mathematicians figured out that whomever goes first in this fast-paced vertical checker game can actually statistically win 100% of the time.
Oh, wow.
A, Connect 4. B, 4 square. C, quad pro quo.
Okay.
Okay.
See, I love Connect 4. I love Connect 4. I really do. And I feel like the second one I played before, I'm not really familiar with the third one. And my instinct is telling me to go with Connect 4.
She's going with
I'm going
Connect.
to trust my gut, and I'm going to go with Connect 4.
Going with Connect 4, and she is correct. And the reason
Very
you never
good.
heard of quad pro quo, I made it up.
Oh, very nice.
And
There you go.
I mean,
And then-
what a game it would
And then
be.
four square is just a schoolyard game.
Four square
right?
is the game in the schoolyard with the
Yeah,
ball.
yeah.
That's right. No popcorn allowed. All right, Becca, a chance to regain that 2-point advantage. Your next question here on Clue What Win. In the first few spins of the wheel in this classic board game, you figured out your occupation, salary, spouse, and offspring. The original version included further spaces for disgrace, poverty, and prison, which were mercifully removed from the game, at least.
Disgrace.
Is that A, Monopoly, B, Dream Home, C, Life?
It's without a doubt life.
It is without a doubt Life.
Talk about
Can you imagine landing on the disgrace square of Life?
I gotta be honest with you. Another game with those little pegs, the little
those little tiny family pegs.
Yeah,
That's
get
right.
out of here.
Yeah, I will say this. You really have an excuse of losing at Life if you happen to land on disgrace, poverty, and prison. Kayla, back to you. A chance to get it back within one here on Board Game Trivia. Here's your next question. According to Hasbro, the tallest recorded tower in this classic block stacking game is 40 levels plus 2 additional blocks on top.
I was there.
Here I am just thinking about the cleanup. Is that A, marooned, B, Jenga, or C, oh no?
I have to go with B.
She's got to go with B, Jenga, because that is correct.
Now, I love Jenga. 40 does not feel like a lot.
40
I feel like I've
levels?
done more than that.
All right, Becca, the lead's down to 1. Here we go. Your next question here on Clue What Win, talking board game trivia. The longest game on record of what some might consider the most American board game of all time went for 70 straight days.
gosh.
While technically a 2-player game could mathematically be over in 4 turns and 9 rolls of the dice.
Oh.
Is that A, Monopoly, B, Settlers of Catan, or C, Dominion?
Oh gosh. I know it's not Settlers. I think it's not Dominion.
It's a good game.
I'm going to go with A.
She's going A, Monopoly. And that is correct.
There
Did
you
you
go.
know, because of the way that Monopoly works, if you had the right rolls of doubles, 2 people, the game could be over in 4 turns.
How about that?
Kayla, to stick with Becca here, your next question on board game trivia. Here we go. Invented by a sophomore at the University of Illinois in 1962, not for med school, but just because their teacher required them to invent a game or toy. The student only made $500 from his prototype, leaving poor Cavity Sam to continue to suffer medical malpractice for years to come. Is that A, topple, B, perfection, or C, operation?
I think there's only one right answer, and it's obviously Operation.
It's obviously operation, and that is correct
I feel so sad
for this
now.
dude. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you know that the guy's name was Cavity Sam?
Like in the back of my mind somewhere, I think I heard that once.
Kayla is correct. Becca, you're now only up 1. Your last question of the round here on Board Game Trivia. Are we ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Even if you're not Czechoslovakian, it would behoove you to learn how to spell it so that you can receive the highest possible score in this all-time classic board game that currently inhabits 1 in every 3 American households. Is that A, upwards, B, Scrabble, or C, bananagrams?
Oh, those are all spelling games, are they not?
They are, yeah.
They are.
Yeah. I have Upwards and I have Scrabble and I don't have Bananagrams. I don't even know if you can't spell Czechoslovakia. You can't use that in Scrabble. So but let's go Bananagrams.
She's going bananagrams. She is incorrect.
Oh, no.
It is Scrabble.
Oh.
Because you can add on to words already played. So this is the using the letter tiles and triple word and triple letter tiles on one specific line mathematically. And you also get a bingo for using your 7 letters. Plus all of the letters on the board. You could spell Czechoslovakian. A bit of a trick question. It is Scrabble is what we're looking
My
for.
goodness. So there is a chance, Kayla, for you to end this round all tied up. And that's all
right.
we can hope for.
Wow, great game here. We're talking board games. We're talking
Game
board
about
game
games.
trivia. It's Clue What Win. Kayla, your last question of the round to tie things up. Per Hasbro, this game where you roll 5 dice up to 3 times per turn received its name, later a Sports Center catchphrase, because its inventors were wealthy Canadians that were spending time on their oversized luxury boat. Is that A, Parcheesi, B, Yahtzee, or C, Farkle?
Kayla?
I'm going to go with C.
She's going to go with C, Farkle. Incorrect.
Oh!
Incorrect, Kayla. We were looking for B, Yahtzee.
Because of the yacht.
Oh, the yacht. That's right.
The
tough
wealth
one.
of Canadians were out there on their yachts coming
That's
up
right.
with
Games?
games.
Yeah, sure they were.
Awesome.
Why not, man?
You're listening to Who What When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my friend Daniel Thompson. And this week we're having a lot of fun exploring the history of board games.
That's right, Brand. Our contestants, South Carolinians Becca and Kayla, have made it through our first game. Let's see how they do in our next round about board games that maybe didn't stand the test of time.
Oh boy, that's coming up right after this break here on Who What When.
Welcome back to Who What When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy Brandon Gray, and this week's topic is all about the history of board games.
And before we get back to the game, a reminder that we would love for you to be a future contestant on an episode of Who What When. All you got to do is call or text us, 803-470-6347, or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org. Dan, the show won't work without contestants.
That's
we need
right,
them.
and it is an absolute blast.
It
This
is.
week's contestants, Becca and Kayla, are both joining us from South Carolina today. They did well with some basic board game trivia, but now we're getting to the tough questions in a game we love around here. It's Walter Edgar Tries to Sell You.
Oh boy, Kayla and Becca, you might recognize historian Walter Edgar, aka Wally Edge. That's exactly, that's what we call him.
That's right.
That's what we coined that name. He's an institution around here in the South, and the host of South Carolina Public Radio's podcast, Walter Edgar's Journal, all about the region's history. And in this game, Walter is going to use his gravitas to describe actual board games that were just too strange to last the test of time. With each description, you're going to have 3 possible names of the game. Just tell us the correct one. The point is yours.
Becca, you're going first here in Walter Edgar Tries to Sell You. Wally Edge, take it away.
Are you dressing up with your friends or avoiding the cursed black ring? Only in this 1990s game aimed at young children could you do both, which was clearly riding the coattails of Diana's popularity.
Is that A, Queen's Bounty, B, Pretty Pretty Princess, or C, Duck Duck Princess?
Oh, goodness. I hear princess and I hear Diana. She was very pretty. Let's go with Pretty Pretty Princess.
Pretty Pretty Princess is correct. We're off to a good start.
That's how you narrow it down right there.
Duck. Princess. Kayla, a chance to maintain striking distance here. Walter Edgar is going to try to sell you on these board games that did not last. Wally Edge, take it away.
Not just a B-movie franchise or a scary South American water monster, this 1990s game encouraged players to fling their fish upriver as long as they don't get caught.
Is that A, Piranha Panic, B, The Jaws Jam, or C, Anaconda Insanity?
Wow.
Wow. It's a lot to choose from. I'm going to go with C, Anaconda Insanity.
She's going to go with Anaconda Insanity. That is a South American water monster. It is not correct. We're looking for Piranha Panic is what we were looking for.
I'm crushed for
That is-
Kayla, but I am pumped for us because that means we can create Anaconda Insanity.
That's right.
And I know what we're doing the rest of the day.
Becca, a chance to take a commanding lead here. Walter Edgar Tries to Sell You. These are real board games that did not last. Wally Edge, take it away.
What better way to learn about the seasons of the year with your family than with this anxiety-inducing existential crisis of a board game that required you to spend the exact number of minutes, then hours, then days, then weeks, then months in order to move forward?
Is that A, calendar craze, B, the game of time, or C, flat circle, we're all doomed?
Okay, so keywords are seasons and a lot of other time. I'm not going to go with time, though. I'm going to go with calendar craze.
Calendar craze is a game I made up. It's incorrect. We should do that one, though. It's the game of time. Like every kid with anxiety.
What is going on with this game?
It's a crazy game that should have never been invented and seems like a torture device. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Kayla, your next question here on Walter Edgar tries to sell you, my boy Wally Edge, take it away.
Think Monopoly moves too fast and with too much variety? Have a go at this game that isn't nearly as stale as it sounds. I promise. Based off the 1980s British TV show of the same name, all you have to do is rise to the occasion by earning some dough, getting a car and a date in order to escape staying home with your family. It's fun, I promise.
Is that A, Faulty Towers, the game, B, the Mary Tyler Moore game, or C, Bread, the board game?
Okay, so I hear a lot of rising to the occasion. I wish I knew 1980s British show because that will help a lot.
Yep.
Being that this game is named after it. I don't think it's C. I'm going to go with A.
Gonna go with A, Faulty Towers, the game. Incorrect. We were looking for Bread, the board game. Bread, the board
Rise,
game.
dough.
Stale. Tried my best there, Kayla. All right.
That's
Becca,
tough. This is a tough game.
category. It is. Wally Edge is trying to sell some games. Becca and Kayla aren't buying. Becca, your next question. Walter, take it away.
That guy with the monocle is so pre-depression. There's a new economy in town, and so we should have a new game. Not only can you acquire property here, but you can take turns being the government, where you can set inflation and take a bite out of everybody's profits.
Is that A, Polconomy or Poleconomy, Monopoly of the 1980s, B, Cold Waropoly, or C, Mission Inflation?
I have no idea. Yeah. I can't even narrow this down. I'm going to take a guess and say B.
Cold Waropoly is incorrect. We're looking for Poleconomy, Monopoly of the 1980s.
It's a bad name.
Bad name?
Bad name. Should have gone Mission Inflation.
And
if we're being honest.
I had to look up how to pronounce it. It's disgusting. I can't stand it. And it's why this is so tough and this got away from me. But it's okay. It's making for fun radio. Kayla, another opportunity to inch closer to Becca here. Anything can happen. We're talking board games. It's a tough category. Wally Edge is selling us. Walter, take it away.
This game is based on a best-selling book that's out of this world. Why not gather your friends around for a fun game night where you can see if you can test your knowledge of other humans, whether they're from our planet or not?
Is that A, Mars Attacks, the game, B, Crime, Punishment, and Martians, or C, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, the game?
Wow, this is so tough. I'm going to go with the last one.
Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, the game is correct.
Ooh, suddenly
All right.
we have a little game here,
We've got a
Dano.
game here. It's not a board game, it's a radio game, but it still counts. Kayla, that is correct. Things are getting tight. Becca, it's time to get back on the horse here and get one right. Board game trivia. These are board games that did exist, but barely. Walter's going to try to bring them back with his sales pitch. Wally Edge, hit me.
Is there anything spookier than a game with a built-in record player to deliver spooky messages from the undead? Travel to Egypt from the comfort of your own home and get wrapped up in this spooky high-tech extravaganza.
Is that A, Franken DJ, B, Voice of the Mummy, or C, Zombie Files?
Okay, so I heard record player, spooky, Egypt. I'm going to go with Mummy B.
She's going to go with Mummy B, and she is correct.
There you
Voice of the
go.
Mummy. You
Here
need to
we go.
look this game up, Brandon, the 1970s.
Sounds awesome.
A record player underneath the board.
Very cool.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. All right, Kayla, it's getting serious. These are must-haves here. Your next question here on Walter Edgar Tries to Sell You.
Want to feel like you're in a Jurassic Park movie? Well, this game kind of scratches that itch, at least the beginning part before all the dinos show up. Pretend to be an 1800s paleontologist trying to collect enough bones to create a dinosaur before your friends do, or die of boredom in the process.
Is that A, Dinosaurs the TV show, the board game, B, Jurassic Fossil, or C, The Great Dinosaur Rush?
I'm going to go with Dinosaur Fossil.
Jurassic Fossil or Dinosaur Rush?
Jurassic-
She's going to go Jurassic Fossil.
Yes.
That is incorrect. Incorrect. We're looking for The Great Dinosaur Rush.
Woo.
All right.
I like that title.
Yeah,
That's a
The
good
Great
name.
Dinosaur Rush. All right, Becca, your last question. Your last question of the round. Finish strong. Here we go.
Did Dixie die after eating poisoned pancakes? Did Erica Kane kidnap Maria's baby? Did Adam kill his twin brother Stuart by accident? If you missed the episodes, the only way to find out is by playing this game where the fun can also happen daily.
Is that A, Dallas the board game, B, All My Children the board game, or C, Cheers the board game?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so these are all television shows. I've never watched Dallas, but a lot of those clues point to Dallas to me. I never watched Cheers. I'm gonna go with Dallas, the board game.
Dallas the board game, incorrect.
Oh.
And if I'm not mistaken, Dallas was a weekly show. Daily was the thing that I tried to separate those two. All My Children, a daily program. All My Children, the soap opera, is what we were looking for.
That's interesting.
Kayla, your last question of the round. Walter Edgar Tries to Sell You. It starts right now.
Who better to navigate through time and space in this sure-to-be classic deck-building game than our 16th president? Equip yourself with weapons, throw your beard as a boomerang, and do whatever you can to beat your fellow honest competitors along the way.
Is this board game A, the Jackson Jet, B, Pixel Lincoln, or C, Teddy Time Traveler?
It's pixel linking. And when you guys were reading the option, I was like, I hope they don't have multiple options with linking in them. I was just like, because that's going to make things really complicated, but it's definitely be pixel linking.
That would have been devastating. It is Pixel Lincoln, the 16th president.
There we go.
She got it. That is the end of round number 2. Becca, 6 points. Kayla, 5 points. Becca, from Columbia, South Carolina, our champion of the week, gets to go on to play for a Who What Win fanny pack. Kayla, a valiant effort.
A tough
1
game.
point short. So close. Thanks so much for calling in and playing this week.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is Who What Win. I'm Brandon Gray here with my co-host Daniel Thompson. And this week, we're trying our best to avoid Monopoly jail as we play through the history of board games.
Our contestant, Becca from South Carolina, has eked out a win to become our champion of the week, and she now has a chance at our trophy. That's right, the sweet, sweet Who What Win fanny pack.
We'll see if she can pull it off. But first, we'll learn a little bit more about American board games from a gaming historian. That's next, after the break, here on Who What Win.
Welcome back to Who What Wins, South Carolina Public Radio's Hour of History, Games, and Trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray, and this week we're rolling the dice and moving our way through the history of board games. We'll return to our quizzes in a few moments, but first it's time for our Educator Spotlight.
That's right, Brand. Sometimes we get the opportunity to speak with an expert about the topics we're covering on the show, and today we're very excited to be joined by Mirek Stolee, the board games and puzzles curator at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. Mirek, welcome to Who What When.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Now, so far in this episode, we've touched on some pretty famous board games. I don't think any of the board games we've talked about so far in this episode is going to be too shocking.
No.
Some maybe long forgotten, but all of them, I believe, Dan, have been from the last 100 years or so. What is the earliest example of a board game that we have found that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so I think board games, have an extremely long history. We've been playing in general, since probably the history of man entirely. But we have board games from the ancient world. There's a board game called Senet from the Egypt area that we actually don't know how to play. People speculate as to the sort of rules there, but we don't have a sort of sure knowledge of that. Probably most famous is the Royal Game of Ur. Which is several thousand years old as well. I believe that was found in the Mesopotamia area. And what is interesting about that is that we didn't for a long time know how to play it, but we did uncover the rules as a tablet with written rules for it. Fairly recently, and now we do know how it was played in its original form.
Forgive me, I know we have a show to do, but we found the rules on a separate tablet.
Yeah, so not me personally, or my institution, but yes, archaeologists did find a separate carved into the tablet.
Wow,
that is wild.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Is it a good game?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. There's an archaeologist named Irving Finkel. I believe he's an archaeologist, and you can find a video of him playing it online with Tom Scott, who's a YouTuber. And it's really interesting. It plays a lot like backgammon. So I think there's a lot of interesting sort of aspects of it that it feels fairly contemporary, like a lot of other sort of classic games like backgammon.
Fascinating. So we have the Royal Game of Ur from Mesopotamia.
They found the tablet.
They found the tablet inscribed with the rules. Yeah. Let's move on forward to the old U.S., Bran, if we could. What are some games that were popular in early America that we may have heard of, or earlier versions of games that became games we may have heard of?
A really good example is Milton Bradley's Checkered Game of Life, which he released in 1860. So Milton Bradley, if you may have heard the name, as the name of the very famous game publisher, now owned by Hasbro. But in 1860, he was making this game that was the Checkered Game of Life sounds like the Game of Life, right? Which is probably more familiar to your listeners and to me, of course. But the Checkered Game of Life is part of this early American history, of games, of manufactured board games. It's really interesting in its sort of moralistic framing. It is something where it's like Chutes and Ladders. You're trying to get to the end. In certain spaces will send you backwards, and certain spaces will send you forward. It's framed in such a way that, like, if certain spaces have you engaging in a vice, and that'll make you go back spaces. But you're rewarded for perseverance or other things that they considered virtuous, and those will move you forward on the track. Basic gameplay. It's just moving back and forth on a track according to the roll of a die, but it's framed in such a way that it has this moralistic message.
Was that popular at the time with board games to kind of have this moral aspect to them, or was that kind of a one-off?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that is very common in early, at least American board games. You see there's another game called The Mansion of Happiness, which is a little earlier, I believe, and it's got the same sort of idea. If we're conceptualizing play as something for children, we can harness that play in a way that is, productive, will help mold them into members of society. And interestingly about that is that a lot of the games don't use dice, and actually I'm not totally sure about the Checkered Game of Life, but dice have this sort of gambling connotation. Yeah. So even though they needed random numbers, they would use something called a teetotum, which is like a top that doesn't have that same sort of association, but fulfills the same function in the game.
We can't have this conversation without talking about Monopoly, at least briefly. I used to teach U.S. history, and I would always say there's no more American board game than the game of Monopoly. Are there other American games that are what you think of when you think of the American board game that would be classified in that way? Like, Mancala is from Egypt or Mahjong is from China. Is there something that's American, Monopoly notwithstanding?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Monopoly is a great example, right? It's got these ties to the capitalism and all of that, and of course is the biggest best-selling board game of all time. There's other games that I think fill that same sort of cultural relevance to the United States. So things like the Game of Life. I remember when in the 90s, I played the version that was out then, and you would go and you would go down the track and you would accumulate the money and that sort of thing. And you'd have life events and you would get these things called life tiles. And the life event might be something like having a kid or, having a diploma or having this really meaningful sort of experience. And then it would convert it into money, right? It's really, the only thing that is intelligible to winning the game is the money, the resource, right? In the sort of modern board gaming scene, this term has fallen out of favor a little bit, but people use this term Ameritrash. Which is used in comparison to the supposedly superior Euro game. The Ameritrash game is focused more on simulation and thematic elements. It's something that is drawing on that sort of wargaming history that was really interested in capturing a specific thing in the rules. Versus Euro games, which are at least stereotypically more focused on like strategy and less focused on the sort of theme. Those are notorious for having what people call a pasted on theme, where like the setting of the game doesn't really matter. So yeah, I think America has its own sort of culture around games, and people in the mass market, but also in the sort of hobbyist board game scene recognize certain things as American.
It does seem like there has been a bit of a shift. Board games have changed a lot over the past 200 years or so. Can you share a little bit more about that transformation that we've seen, especially on the creative side, but also when it comes to manufacturing these games and whatnot?
So we have all sorts of different shifts that have happened. We see them with technology changes. So, in the later 1800s, we see the sort of rise or proliferation of chromolithography, which is a kind of printing that allowed, printing companies to make these really beautiful, like colorful prints. And this is the sort of technology that's driving Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley and companies like McLaughlin Brothers in the later 1800s. Later on, we see other manufacturing changes, things like, injection molding plastic enables things like Mousetrap and Hungry Hungry Hippos, in the 60s. And we have other sort of shifts in how people are thinking about board games. In terms of like who they're for. So, in the 1900s, we see the rise of the wargaming movement or wargaming scene, I guess, in the United States, which is, treated as this sort of more serious gaming for adults. They're playing these simulations of historical battles and using it to engage with the history, right? It's something that is very complex and is not necessarily accessible or even maybe interesting to many children. And now we see a whole rise of games that are for adults, or at least played by adults. This modern board game scene where many of them are played by children, but also accessible to adults and interesting to adults, are maybe more complex. And these are things that, has sort of boomed in popularity, at least in the last 30 years or so.
I have a friend who's really into board games, and he throws these board game nights, and he always brings a handful of games that I've never heard of, never seen. And he's like, I got this game at a board game convention. And I'm like, there's a board game convention? He'd be like, I got this game. I helped fund it on Kickstarter. And I'm like, there's board games being funded on Kickstarter? It seems like there's a bit of a board game boom going on where board games are being put out not by the big companies, but independently. And these board game fans are seeking these games out. What is it like to be a diehard fan of board games right now? Are we in a board game boom?
Yes, I would definitely say we are in a board game boom. I think, in the last, 20 years or so, they've really begun to explode in popularity. these sort of hobbyist games that are played by adults. We see these in mass market retailers like Target or Walmart, right? Things like Catan has become a sort of household name for a lot of people. And these are things that but it's not just Catan. Like you said, there is this sort of huge increase in the amount of games or number of games published per year. That I think is in part, like you said, to things like Kickstarter. That has been a huge change in the last 10 years. Crowdfunding board games has really enabled a lot of like smaller publishers or even like independent people to bring a game to market. Before, you have these sort of gatekeepers that still exist to an extent. The publishers, you would pitch a game to the publisher who would bring it to manufacture. And now, it's a little different. You can raise that money from many different people online using sites like Kickstarter or GameFound, which is a site specific for crowdfunding board games. I think those are really big shifts, and I think we're seeing huge increases in the amount of games published and the number of games published, but also I think they're experiencing a sort of cultural relevancy as well. I think people are really, a lot of people know someone who's really into board games, and that you're seeing that a lot.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a bit about the history of the Strong Museum of Play and maybe how we can find out more information about it?
So the Strong National Museum of Play was founded in 1969, but opened to the public in 1982. It was founded on the collection of Margaret Strong, who was a collector of dolls and toys, but many other things. It wasn't until 2003 that we changed the mission to sort of narrow to what is unique about her collection and what can we bring out there. So we focused she has a lot of playthings. And we are now the world's most comprehensive collection of playthings, which includes toys, dolls, in my case, board games and puzzles, but also video games. We have 570,000 objects in the collection. And that's growing rapidly. You can find us online, and I would be really thrilled, if anyone came to visit the museum in person up in Rochester, New York.
Fantastic. Mirek Stolee is a board games and puzzle curator at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. Mirek, thanks for chatting with us today on Who, What, When.
Thank you so much.
This is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy Brandon Gray, and our topic this week, Brand, is the history of board games.
Oh, it's been fun, Dan. And before we get to our final game, one more reminder that we want you to join us as a contestant on a future episode. It's simple. Just call or text us, 803-470-6347. Or send us an email, whowhatwhen at sdpublicradio.org.
Our contestant, Becca from South Carolina, has made it through our first two rounds to become the Who, What, When Champion of the Week. Congrats, Becca. Now, she has the chance to take home the trophy of trophies, the vaunted Who, What, When fanny pack. All that stands between them is our final round, Clue or False.
We really know about the game of Clue.
We certainly do, man.
Don't we?
Yeah.
In this game, we've got stories about specific tabletop games.
Rhymes with
However,
who? I mean,
I know it works too well not to use it twice. However, only some of these stories are real. The others were made up by my buddy Dan. He's a good liar. You'll just have to tell if these stories are true or false. There are 8 of these questions. Get 5 of them correct. You've secured yourself a fanny pack, and you can put as many cards as you want to in that fanny pack.
Reasonably speaking.
Well,
I
of
think
course.
you could, yes. Becca, here's your first question on Clue or False. The famous murder mystery game Clue, of which this segment is named, where players must match the murderer, murder weapon, and room of said murder to win, was invented in 1943 by Anthony Pratt, a wartime fire warden in England trying to protect the city in between Nazi bombings. The game was originally called Murder and included weapons like an axe, a syringe, poison, a bomb, among others. Is that true or false?
I have no reason to say it's not. I'm going to go with Clue True.
Clue True is correct. She's 1 for 1. Murder.
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 Clue's a great game.
Clue's a great game.
Great
Banger
game.
of a game.
Really
Cluedo.
good idea. Kudos to that guy.
That's right. Cluedos. Now you did it. Cluedos to Anthony Pratt. Yeah, nicely done. All right, Becca, you need 4 more for that fanny pack. Here we go. We're playing a little Clue or False. Much like the Festivus airing of the grievances, the Chamont family held the Apology Olympics each holiday season, allowing all family members to apologize for anything they had done over the course of the previous year.
Nice.
While it began in all sincerity, it became somewhat of a comedic competition with a scoreboard and official rules. This was the inspiration for the 1974 game Sorry, which had less to do with righting the wrongs of your past year and more with just infuriating your family members because you could.
Very fun.
True or false, Becca?
I don't know. The actual game Sorry has nothing to do with anything like that, like you said. So I'm just gonna swing and say false.
She's 2 for 2.
Wow.
She's 2 for 2.
She's locked in. She's
in.
listening intently.
Yes, she is. All right, let's see if we can trip her up here. Clue or false? She's got 2 correct. She needs 3 more for that fanny pack. Here's your next question. Monopoly has sold over 275 million copies and has an estimated over 1 billion different players. But it started out with a theft. Hasbro claimed a Great Depression salesman, Charles Darrow, proposed the game to them, and they eventually purchased it from him. Turns out, Hasbro stole the idea of Monopoly from Quaker Elizabeth Maggie and her 1904 patent, The Landlord's Game. How monopoly of them? Is that true or false?
I was going to say something very similar. How monopoly of them. I'm not sure that the names are correct. I'm not sure that the dates are correct, but I think I've heard an origin story pretty similar. So I'm going to say Clue true.
She's going to say Clue true, and she's 3 for 3.
Really good.
Unbelievable.
Really good.
Wow. Wowzer. She only needs 2 more for that fanny pack.
Man,
She's got to be feeling good. 5 questions left. Just needs to get 2 right.
you can put a deck of cards.
You
in
could
it.
you could start to
could
sew
put a
sew her
couple-
name on this fanny
I know. You could put some Jenga blocks.
pack.
in
Knock
it.
on wood. 40 levels.
Knock on a
worth.
Jenga box.
All right, here we go. Your next question, Becca, here on Clue or False. Hasbro's Chutes and Ladders was a true all play, a game for young kids where a ladder takes you up and a chute sends you down. It was, according to Hasbro, a game of consequences. But when you find out that the original British game, Snakes and Ladders, was stolen from India, whose original version included Hindi snakes that killed you and made you start life all over, well, it starts to sound a little bit less like an all play. Is that true or false?
That sounds like I could see Britain doing that. It was Britain, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go Clue true.
Clue true, 4 for 4.
Wow, Becca.
Unbelievable.
This is big.
Man, this is huge. She could go 5 for 5 and get the fanny pack as quick as anyone's ever gotten it. Your next question here, Clue or False? Nothing really makes the reality of worldwide domination in the Cold War come alive like kids rolling a dice for territory. Am I right? That was the thought process of French filmmaker Albert Lamouris, who created what was originally called The Conquest of the World, but is now still printed simply as Risk. Turns out making children take part in the Cold War didn't make them any less scared. Is that Clue or False?
I don't remember it being Cold War. I thought I remembered it being an earlier war, but my initial thought was Risk. I'm gonna say true.
She's going to say true. She thought about it. And in 5 correct answers, she has won the Who What When fanny
Oh
pack.
my goodness.
That's unbelievable. 5 for 5. Becca from Columbia, South Carolina has won not only the title of Who What Win Champion of the Week, but also a Who What Win fanny pack. Becca, you struggled in the middle round, but that last round of Clue or False was all you. What are some thoughts? What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm proud of my hobbies, and I'm gonna go home and play a board game with my family.
There you
Heck
go.
yeah, you
And
are.
Becca, congratulations to you. This is big. This is huge. You can put it on your resume, your LinkedIn. This is
Put it on all of it.
ginormous.
That's exactly right.
I'll embroider it in my fanny pack.
Yeah, you will.
Fantastic. Becca, thanks for playing.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, it's time to start packing up these pieces and wrap up this board game edition of Who What When. Thanks again to our contestants, Becca and Kayla, for playing with us today. And congratulations to Becca for being our champion of the week.
We had help researching this episode from our production assistant, Sydney Wilcox.
Oh my
our
gosh.
producer is A.T. Shire, and our executive producer is Sean Birch, who spends most of his free time creating Who What When, the home game. This show is a production of South Carolina Public Radio, made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
You can join us for a future episode of Who What When. Just call or text us at 803-470-6347 or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, whowhatwhenshow.org.
And you can listen to an extended version of the show in your favorite podcast app or through your smart speaker.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Join us again next week for more history games and trivia right here on Who What When.